My name is Maribel, and I am 75. I live in a quiet room at the Willow Creek Retirement Village, but some nights, I'm not here at all. I'm standing on a porch in rural Maine in 1965. The snow is falling in thick, wet sheets, and I am 15 years old, with a secret just beginning to show beneath my coat. Even now, I still hear the sound of that deadbolt sliding shut. The memory that never fades isn't the birth, it's the look on my father's face. His name was Oswin, a man who believed in God, hard work, and reputation, in that order. When I told him, he didn't yell. He simply went to my room, pulled my small cardboard suitcase from the closet, and began packing. The silence in that house was louder than any scream. He marched me to the front door. My mother, Kala, was collapsed on the floral sofa, her face buried in her hands. "Oswin, please," she whimpered. "It's a blizzard. She's just a child." My father paused, his hand on the doorknob. "She stopped being a child," he said, his voice flat and cold as the windowpane, "when she decided to bring this disgrace upon our name." The father of the baby, Jareth, was 17, with restless eyes and promises of California. But the moment I whispered my secret to him, that restlessness turned to panic. 2 days later, his entire family had vanished. Just gone. My father opened the door. The wind tore the breath from my lungs. "You will not stay under my roof," Oswin declared. He placed my suitcase gently on the snow, which was crueler than throwing it. He pushed a thin envelope into my glove. "There is $20 in there. It is the last dollar you will ever receive from me. Do not come back. You are no daughter of mine." He stepped back inside, and I heard the click, then the thud of the deadbolt. I stood there, listening to my mother's muffled sobs. I had $20, a suitcase, and a baby inside me. The road to town was 5 miles, an impossible distance. I knew I could die out here. I'd made it less than a mile, my face raw and my fingers numb, when headlights cut through the swirling snow. A heavy, dark sedan slowed. The passenger window rolled down, and a woman with sharp red lipstick leaned over. "You look like you're in a whole world of trouble, honey," she said. "Get in." The woman's name was Mavis. She didn't ask questions, just turned the heat up and handed me a thermos of bitter coffee. We drove for hours, leaving my small town far behind, until we reached a gray, 3-story house in a city I didn't recognize. "This is it," she said. "The Haven. You work, you follow the rules, you stay. You don't, you're back in the snow." The Haven was not a home, it was a holding pattern. There were 5 other girls there, all of us with the same swelling bellies and vacant eyes. We weren't allowed last names. We scrubbed floors, folded hotel laundry, and peeled potatoes under Mavis's watchful eye. "The world doesn't care about your tears," she'd say. "It only cares about what you get done." I missed my mother, Kala, with a physical ache. I wrote her a letter, begging her to write back, to tell me she still loved me. I gave it to Mavis to mail. I never received a reply. That silence hurt more than the blizzard. I felt utterly alone, focusing only on the fluttering life inside me. This baby was the only person in the world who was all mine. As the first spring flowers bloomed, my time came. Mavis drove me to the hospital. But when they placed her in my arms, the world stopped. She was perfect. I named her Naoma, New Moon. She was my new beginning. I held her for one day. One perfect, beautiful day. On the second day, Mavis came with a stack of papers. "It's time, Maribel." I begged, I pleaded, I told her I could work, but she was firm. "You're 15. You have nothing. The family I've chosen, they're good people. They can give her everything you can't." She took Naoma from my arms while I sobbed into the starchy pillowcase. They made me sign the papers. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold the pen. Mavis told me the adoption was closed. I could never know her, and she could never know me. A week later, Mavis gave me a bus ticket to Portland, Oregon, and $200. Go build a life, she said. And never, ever look back. I got on that bus, a hollowed-out shell of a girl, and made a promise. I would never be that weak, or that poor, or that helpless, ever again. Maribel built a new life, but you can never truly escape the past. 20 years passed. I was no longer Maribel the outcast. I was Mrs. Maribel Croft, a respectable widow. I had made it to Oregon, gotten my degree in library science, and found a quiet life. I'd even found love, for a time. Silas was a kind, gentle man who never knew about Naoma. He died of a heart attack just 5 years into our marriage, leaving me alone once more. I poured my life into the town library, into the order of the shelves and the smell of old paper. I buried my secrets so deep it almost felt like it had happened to someone else. I was 35 years old, shelving books on a rainy Tuesday, when the bell over the library door chimed. I didn't look up, not until he spoke. "Excuse me, I'm looking for the local historical archives." The voice. It was deeper, but it was his. I froze. My blood turned to ice. I slowly turned around. It was Jareth. The restless, dark eyes were the same, but now they were framed by lines of success. He wore an expensive suit and carried a leather briefcase. He looked at me, and his polite impatience slowly turned to horrified recognition. "Maribel?" he whispered. My heart hammered against my ribs. I think you're mistaken," I stammered, turning to flee. But he moved faster, grabbing my arm. "No," he said, "it is you. Maribel from Maine." I can't believe it. I yanked my arm away, the rage I had buried for 2 decades erupting. "Get out," I hissed, my voice shaking. "Get out of my library." "Maribel, wait," he pleaded. "I never knew what happened to you." "What happened to me?" I said, my voice rising. "You vanished. You left me. My father threw me out. In a blizzard. I nearly died." The words, locked away for so long, came spilling out. His face went pale. "Oswin did what?" "He cast me out," I spat, the tears I'd never cried now burning my eyes. "And I lost her. I lost our baby." Jareth stumbled back, hitting a bookshelf. "Baby? But... oh God. A baby?" He looked utterly broken. What happened to the baby?" I looked at this man who had built a perfect life on the ruins of mine. And in that moment, I made a cold, hard decision. "She died," I whispered, the lie tasting like acid. "She was born in the storm, and she died." A terrible lie, born from 20 years of pain. But the truth has a way of coming out. Jareth staggered out of the library, and I collapsed, trembling. For a week, I was a wreck, sitting in my silent house, jumping at every sound. Then, he was back. He was waiting on my porch when I came home from work. He looked terrible, unshaven, and rumpled. "I've been staying at the local inn," he said, his voice raw. "I couldn't leave. Maribel, I need to know. Where is she buried? I need to see her grave." I froze, the keys slipping from my hand. I hadn't thought that far. "There is no grave," I said, my voice cold. "There was no money. No service." "No," he said, shaking his head, a frantic energy in his eyes. "No, I don't believe you. You're lying." "Why are you lying to me?" He was a doctor, I learned. A successful surgeon from California. He was married, with 2 sons. "Why?" I laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. "You ask me why? You left me to die. You don't get to grieve, Jareth." You don't get to ask for graves. You gave up that right. I tried to push past him, but he blocked the door. I didn't run, he said desperately. My father, he found out. He put me on a train to a military academy that night. He told me that your family had taken care of the problem. I thought he meant. I didn't know. His excuse, his reason, just made me angrier. He was weak. Get off my property, Jareth. Not until you tell me the truth, he shot back. I'm a doctor. I have resources. I started making calls. Back to Maine. I found a nurse who used to work at the county hospital. She remembered a girl brought in by a woman named Mavis. A woman who ran a home. My blood ran cold. Mavis ran the Haven, he said, his voice dropping. It wasn't a hospice, Maribel. It was an adoption agency. A private, very discreet adoption agency. Our baby didn't die, did she? He stepped closer, his face a mask of anguish and rage. You gave her away. I had no choice. I screamed. You left me. My father threw me out. Mavis was my only option. I gave her a chance. That's more than you or my father ever gave me. He stared at me for a long, terrible moment. The man who had been shattered by the idea of a dead baby was now replaced by something else. A surgeon. You're right, he said, his voice chillingly calm. I did leave. But I won't live with this. I'm going to find our daughter. The search is on. Jareth has money, resources, and a guilt he's desperate to erase. Jareth was a man possessed. He hired a private investigator, and my small, peaceful town was suddenly the center of a storm. People started to talk. The librarian and the handsome, mysterious doctor. Jareth, in his obsessive quest, was destroying the very life I had built to escape him. He'd corner me, begging for details. I remember everything, I told him. And I won't tell you a thing. You are not ripping another life apart just to make yourself feel better. His wife, Bryony, arrived, all diamonds and ice. She confronted me at the library. Whatever little affair you think you're having, she hissed, it's over. How much do you want? Is that it? Money? The humiliation was so profound, I thought I would faint. But Jareth was unstoppable. The investigator, working through legal loopholes, finally found it. A birth certificate. A girl, Naoma, born on April 17, 1966. Adopted by a couple named Lowell and Esther Vance. They lived in Seattle, Jareth told me, finding me on the street. He was trembling, holding a piece of paper. They're both gone now. But she isn't. I didn't want to know. Stop, I pleaded. Jareth, please. She has a life. She has a family. Don't do this. She's our family, he insisted. She has a right to know. He had an address. An address for Naoma Vance. She was a landscape architect, married, with a daughter of her own. A granddaughter. Our granddaughter. The word hit me like a physical blow. I'm going to Seattle tomorrow, Jareth said. I'm going to meet her. I'm going to tell her the truth. You can't. I cried, grabbing his arm. You can't just walk into her life and detonate a bomb, Jareth. You'll destroy her. And what have you been doing? He retorted. Living a lie. You took my daughter from me, Maribel. I'm going to get her back. He left me standing on the sidewalk. A week passed in agonizing silence. I couldn't eat or sleep. Finally, a letter arrived at the library. It was from him. It was short. I met her. Her name is Naoma. She's incredible. She's angry. But she wants to meet you. She needs to meet you. The moment of truth. After 20 years, Maribel is going to see her daughter. The bus ride to Seattle felt like the bus ride I'd taken out of Maine 20 years earlier. I was the same terrified girl, just in an older body. I stood on the sidewalk in her beautiful, green neighborhood, unable to move. What if she hated me? She should hate me. I was the one who signed the paper. I finally rang the bell. The door opened. And there she was. It was like looking at a ghost. She had my eyes, but Jareth's dark hair and his stubborn chin. She was tall, confident, and vibrating with an anger so intense I could feel it from the doorway. She was Naoma. My baby. And she was a stranger. You're Maribel, she said. Jareth was standing in her living room, looking miserable. On the mantel, there was a photo of Naoma with a kind-looking man and a little girl. My granddaughter. Why? She cut me off, her voice sharp. That's all I want to know. Why? She gestured to Jareth, has his excuse. He was a scared kid. But you? You were my mother. You held me. And you gave me away. I had nothing, I whispered, the shame as fresh as it was in 1966. I was 15. My father threw me out. I was alone. I wanted you to have a life. A home. A home, she scoffed. My parents, the ones who raised me, they were good people. But they were sad. They told me my biological parents died in a car crash. I spent my whole life mourning two people who were walking around, living their lives. Did you ever even think about me? Every day, I said, the tears finally coming. Every single day of my life, Naoma. I have a daughter, Naoma said, her voice shaking. Her name is Cassidy. I look at her, and I cannot imagine a force on this earth that could make me give her up. I hope you never have to, I said. I hope you never know what it's like to have the entire world, your family, the man you loved, tell you that you are worthless. That you are a stain. We just stood there, the three of us, trapped in a triangle of pain. I needed to see you, Naoma said, her voice flat as she opened the door. To see if you were real. You are. Now, I need you to go. Naoma, please, Jareth begged. No, she said, looking right at me. It's the end. I have the answers I needed. I don't want to see either of you ever again. She closed the door, leaving us on her perfect stone path. A brutal rejection. Can you blame Naoma? And that, I tell my nurse, Trina, is how it happened. I am 75 now, at Willow Creek. That meeting in Seattle was 40 years ago. So, did you ever see her again, Maribel? Trina asks. Before I can answer, the door bursts open. It's my granddaughter, Cassidy, followed by my son-in-law, Lowell. And behind him is Naoma. My daughter. She's 60 now, with beautiful silver streaks in her hair. She smiles, a real smile, and hugs me tight. Hi, Mom. Yes, Trina. I saw her again. It took a year. A year of me writing letters, not to Jareth, but to her. A year of me explaining, begging, and apologizing. One day, she showed up at my library. Okay, she said. Let's start over. It was slow and painful, but we did it. She is my daughter. Jareth. Jareth was a different story. Naoma never forgave him. He went back to his wife and his perfect life, and we built ours. But Naoma's smile fades. She holds up an envelope. Mom, we got a call this morning. From a lawyer. In California. What about? I ask, my old heart giving a strange lurch. It's Jareth, Naoma says, her voice flat. He passed away. A stroke. Last week. I am silent. The man who is the source of my life's greatest pain and greatest joy is gone. That's not all, Lowell says, his face grim. Apparently his wife passed away 5 years ago. He's been alone. Naoma opens the envelope. Mom, he changed his will. A month ago. He left everything to me. And to you. My eyes fly to hers. What? His entire estate. The house. The stocks. The savings. It's millions, Mom. Millions of dollars. I stare at her, my mind reeling. But, why? There's a note, Naoma says, her hand shaking as she reads it aloud. Maribel and Naoma. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I ran, and I was weak. Please, let this one, last act be the only good thing I ever did for you. Let it give you the peace I never had. An absolute bombshell. Money can't buy forgiveness, or can it? Jareth's money was not a gift, it was a curse. It ignited a firestorm in my family. He's trying to buy us, Mom. Naoma yelled, pacing my small room. He's trying to buy his way into our history. I don't want it. Lowell, her practical husband, disagreed. Naoma, think about Cassidy. This could pay for her grad school. It's an apology. I don't want his apology, she cried. The fight was brutal. But the real poison came from Cassidy. My granddaughter. She came to see me, alone. Grandma, she said, her voice unusually cold. Dad told me. Jareth's sons are contesting the will. They say you and Mom, are opportunists. Cassidy. I was stunned. They're saying, she continued, not looking at me, that you're a woman of low morals who tricked a senile old man. That's what their lawyer is claiming. You don't believe that, do you? I asked, my voice trembling. Cassidy just shrugged. I don't know what to believe, Grandma. It's a mess. Mom and Dad are fighting all the time. This money is tearing us apart. Sometimes I wish he'd never found you. I wish none of this had ever happened. Her words were a knife. She had, in her own way, cast me out, just as my father had. The disrespect, the shame, it was all coming back. My family stopped visiting, too busy with lawyers and fighting. I was alone again. Back in my room, just me and the nurse. The retirement home suddenly felt like a prison, a modern-day haven. One morning, Trina came in with my mail. Just a few bills, Maribel, and, oh. This one looks old. It was a thick, cream-colored envelope. The postmark was from my tiny, frozen hometown in Maine. My hands shook as I opened it. It was from a law firm. My father, Oswin, had passed away. He was 98 years old. And he had left me the house. The house he had thrown me out of. The house. The source of all the pain. My father was dead. The man who had been a specter in my life for 60 years was gone. I felt nothing. Not sadness, not anger. Just a deep, hollow emptiness. But he had left me the house. Naoma was still not speaking to me. Cassidy was distant. Jareth's inheritance was a toxic cloud over us all. I looked at the letter, and then I looked around my room at Willow Creek. This was not how my story was going to end. Trina, I said, my voice stronger than it had been in months. Call me a taxi. I used my small pension to buy a one-way plane ticket to Maine. I left a note for Naoma. I've gone to settle my father's affairs. When the taxi pulled up to the house, I almost told him to keep driving. It was a wreck. The paint was peeling, the porch sagged. But it was mine. The key screeched in the rusty lock. The house smelled of dust and mice and 60 years of regret. I walked through the rooms. My father had lived here alone since my mother, Kala, had died. It was a time capsule. The same floral sofa my mother had wept on was still there, covered in a dusty sheet. I went upstairs to my old room. It was exactly as I had left it. My books were on the shelf. A faded ribbon from the county fair was pinned to the wall. He had kept it. In his own bedroom, on the nightstand, was my first communion photo. In the bottom drawer of his desk, I found what broke me. A small, wooden box. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to me, in my mother's careful, looping script. Letters she had written every year, on my birthday, on Naoma's birthday. My dearest Maribel, I miss you every day. I pray you are safe. My father had never mailed them. He had hidden them. He had let me believe, for all these years, that my mother had forgotten me. The rage I felt was so pure, it almost choked me. He had stolen my mother from me. I sank onto the dusty floor, clutching the letters, and wept. I stayed there for a day, just sitting in the cold. Then I heard a car door slam. Running up the path, her face pale with panic, was Naoma. Cassidy was right behind her. "Mom!" Naoma yelled, bursting through the door. "We got your note. We thought. Oh God." She saw me on the floor, surrounded by the letters. What is this?" I just held one out. "He never sent them," I whispered. "She wrote to me. My mother, she loved me. He hid them." Naoma sat on the floor with me, the dust soiling her expensive clothes, and read our family's history of pain. She read Kala's words, the words of a grandmother she'd never known, grieving for a granddaughter she'd never met. The anger that had been directed at Jareth's money, at Lowell, at me, it all just dissolved, leaving only a profound, shared sorrow. She didn't say anything. She just wrapped her arms around me, and we cried together. "We're not keeping that money," Naoma said finally, her voice thick. "Jareth's sons can have it. They can fight over it until they're blue in the face." "No," I said, a new, hard strength filling my veins. I stood up, my old bones aching. "No. We're keeping it. I'm keeping it." Naoma and Cassidy looked at me, confused. "It's only poison if you let it be," I said. I walked to the sagging porch. This is a house of pain. It's where my life ended. And Jareth's money, that's the result of his pain, his guilt. I turned to them. But it's not the end of the story. We used Jareth's inheritance. Every last penny of it. We gave his sons his California house and his stocks. We kept only the cash. And we brought this old, rotting house back to life. We tore down the walls. We let in the light. It took a year. Lowell managed the contractors. Cassidy, inspired, changed her major to social work. Naoma designed beautiful, peaceful gardens where the frozen mud used to be. Today, if you drive down Hemlock Hill, you won't see my father's house. You'll see the Maribel Haven. It's not a holding pen like the one I was sent to. It's a home. A beautiful, warm, safe place for young women who have nowhere else to go. A place where they can stay, with their babies. A place where they can get counseling, and job training, and daycare. A place where no one is ever cast out. My name is Maribel. I am 76 years old. I don't live at Willow Creek anymore. I have the master suite at the Haven. The nurses and young mothers here are my family. My daughter and granddaughter are on the board of directors. The cycle is broken. The sound of the deadbolt is finally gone. My father cast me out, Jareth vanished, but in the end, their actions didn't define me. My response did. Thank you for watching Maribel's story. If you believe in second chances and the power to rewrite your own ending, please subscribe to this channel and share this story. Your life, too, is a story waiting to be written.